Oh, called orders by me. Cool. Thank you, Milan, for doing my job so I don't have to call this meeting to order. Next up, looks like Chris has not yet arrived, so we can do a roll call here. Let me quickly make sure that I sterilize my desktop before I start sharing my screen. I have like a bajillion monarchy tabs open, right? And I don't want to like share something I'm not allowed to.
Yeah, we're the BoD. We have high enough clearance.
Yeah, but this is all being shared.
I don't.
Right? Let's just, oh, perfect. I can just share the itinerary. That should solve that problem. Okay.
Stereotype or Alan Wong should be attending this meeting eventually. He would like to talk about FOG. It is on the itinerary.
Yep, sounds good. Okay, we have Ben Smith here. We have an Ethan Coppich. We have a Dagger. We have a Milan. We have a James Anderson and an Andy Van.
Yep.
Okay, cool. That completes our roll call. If anybody else shows up, we shall do it. The monarchy people in attendance are all of these people minus Dagger. Perfect. And our guests in attendance are Dagger. Okay, I see you actually had a format here. Fine, I'll follow it. Good enough, I guess.
Also, technically, it should be real names, not game names.
Yeah, Dagger, your real name is Frankie, right?
Yep.
Is it D-I or D-E?
D-I-M-E-N-T-O.
There we go.
Don't worry, James. It only took me a year to figure out his actual.
I've known his name for a long time.
Okay, reading of the last minutes held in April. Where are those, anyways? There they are.
I motion to approve them as written.
Okay, not hearing a lot of seconds, so we shall actually review them. Do share. Which one is this one? This one. Share that one. Hopefully that's working. I wish I could see what I'm sharing more clearly. Okay. Yes, perfect. Okay, so previous March meeting minutes were approved, so then we moved on to the April agenda where we congratulated the new incoming monarch. We then commented about the regional events from the monarch and the BoD responsible for contracts and kingdom level events that we're looking about 4 events, 4 kingdom level events. If Kratz want to do contract stuff, they'll need to contact the board of directors, but we won't need to review payments. Then there was a vote that will happen in this month about talking about an alternative member and how they become full members, and we investigated all of that and finding a pathway to get the alternative member to voting membership and talking about what would happen then in November when the reign ends. Then we talked about, does the BoD need a layout or template of what to expect from events before approving it, or does the bid form, or we decided the bid form exists and should be fine. We then talked about maybe making a wiki page, and Jody said that they would help with that. We then got an update from Aria Saltis, and Scorch approved this. So the people from Aria Saltis want to do a reunion day. The reunion will probably happen in the January or February timeframe, and they ask that their money be set aside so that they can use that, and whatever is left over after the reunion day will be returned to the kingdom. The funding amount was low enough, and so it was decided that they could just come directly out of monarchy coffers, and Scorch approved that. Then there was a Darkshore update, question about any payments or contracts to discuss, making sure we send out. Site payment check was mailed out. Oh, but we didn't send it with tracking numbers, so we talked about how to do that in the future. And then there was a CA AmpGuard update on the payments and the like. How's it working? And it sounded like this actually worked pretty good. I'm not sure if there's something on this month's agenda to talk about that. Then we talked about the smart waiver again. Oh, Alan Wong has shown up. Let me add them to our attendees. Perfect. Let me see. So there was a smart waiver discussion and the corpora requirements, talking about that we do in fact have to have a legal form of ID, must be presented. But we also decided that overall the waiver currently has significantly more items on the smart waiver than the paper waiver, and we should make those two align. Preferably have the smart waiver match the paper waiver. There's no reason to have a bunch of extra stuff. And right now we have about half the lands actually with access to the smart waiver currently. Then Athena did a thing where we made a DEI statement and updated it, and it was unanimously accepted by the board of directors, and then later posted to the Facebook page. And then the liaison was tasked to start looking for a new Darkshore location, which they already are. And then we had Athena and Jody both talked about additional sites and places we could look at. And then there's this talk about Fantasy Fair. I have another update on that for this month outside of Slow. And then Dash also mentioned Laguna Lake. And then we were talking about potentially starting up a location hunting committee. And Athena volunteered to be part of my committee group on this. Grab that real fast and throw that into a notepad so I don't forget that next time. Perfect. Okay. Okay, and then there's a 501c3 update where Milan is working on the proposal, but it was still in progress. And it also looks like we can secure the Monterey Park site a year in advance to pay with credit card with a small 2% fee. I also found out they do an interesting thing with that recurring thing is if we want to do like a week-long event, what you do is you set as a daily recurrence for a week is how you actually use that schedule. That's kind of interesting. And then we voted on meeting today, the 15th of May, and then we adjourned. Those were the meeting minutes from.
I motion to approve the meeting minutes as written.
I second.
Seconded.
Perfect. Okay, let's get a new share going on. Let's go back to. That's the Discord. Where am I? The itinerary for this month. Perfect. Here we are. Okay, so we've read the meeting minutes. They were approved. Yes, approved. Okay, then the May agenda. Update from me about the duality of my duality on the board of directors. So we had a whole discussion about this last month. Then I went away and thought about it, and you guys all convinced me. I need to step down from the board of directors as the vice president. That would still keep us at a total of, I believe, 6. And then Athena will get as the alternate steps in as the board of directors full time. This does not trigger anything else in the Kapora about needing a vote and resolves this issue. The only negative is that, yeah, technically in December I don't get to vote, but, you know, I'll just yell at you guys anyways, and I'm sure you may or may not listen to me. So it seems like the reasonable compromise, although it is something we should look at when we actually get articles of incorporation for our 501c3. So.
Emphatically seconded.
So I think the only thing remaining to discuss on this is, does that mean Athena is the VP, or do we want to reshuffle the board members? It also doesn't help that Athena is not here.
I nominate Athena for VP.
I motion to table this for later.
Oh, I second that. That's better.
Okay, so
Dash has also joined us.
yes, I see that as well. Okay, Ginger Conrad has joined us. Perfect. Okay, so we have tabled the determination of the new VP until a future discussion with more of the board. Let's go with more of the board instead of all of the board. Okay. I believe this closes item 1. Perfect. I got a second. Moving on to item 2, the 501c3 update from Milan. Milan will probably not be here for this, so here are the updates. It is almost done.
I'm
Alon
here.
wishes to- Oh, perfect. Do you wish to say this, or should I read what you have?
I was uncertain if I'm going to be there, and I'm stretching out my team right now, so I'll do a quick rundown. We do have articles of incorporation. We do have bylaws. We are filling out form 1023 instead of 8940. So we've had to refill out a brand new form. The one holdup has been they want 5 years of financial records. And so that's been mildly annoying because we filled out form 990 postcard, which just says we make less than $50,000. Everything's great, which does not involve any numerical information. I was happy enough to get the ledger, the running ledger from Andrew. So I'm going to go through that and ethically present the data to form 1023 and move forward from there. I feel very confident with where we're at.
When did you make
Okay.
your download of the ledger?
From Andrew Brown.
When?
Yesterday?
Do it again. Today was a lot of updating and balancing the books.
Perfect. Can you go ahead and send that to me?
Sure.
I can do it. I still have it up, I think.
Thanks for volunteering.
Wonderful. I'm going to mute myself. I apologize. I do have to step away for a second.
Okay.
Basically, by next meeting, everything will be submitted and we will wait and see.
Perfect.
I expect everything will be approved. I say it with confidence.
Could I move so the discussion with stereotype with Alan Wong, move that up so that he doesn't have to stay for the whole 2 hours if he's not signing up for that.
Okay, we can switch to item 9. Is what it looks like. Is anybody else?
I'm assuming, Alan, you don't want to stay here for the usual 2 hours it takes for us to get to the last item.
Yeah, preferably. I mean, unless you want me to talk about anything else, like.
I mean, you can stay on. I just didn't want to basically force you into staying for the entire time.
Oh, yeah. Yes, that would be lovely. Like I said, unless you need me for other things, but I don't mind.
Okay, well,
I don't mind
let's
moving it
skip to item 9. That sounds very reasonable, unless anybody has any objections. Perfect. So this is the fog and location conversation, location and paying in advance to reserve, the volunteer party, different options that we have here. Alan, you have the floor.
Yeah, so I've been looking into the online reservation. It does have it is quite different, and I need to check in with the county because it wants us to put a deposit for each day, and I know in the past we only put a deposit in for we reserve for X amount of days and we just put one deposit down. So the deposit is $200, and so when I'm using the online form, it needs me to put reserve the De Anza building day by day, and then that's like a $200 deposit. So I need to call and confirm that I can just reserve it for like 3 days, because we initially we're going to start the fog date's going to be on the October 23rd to the 27th. That would be Sunday. So Wednesday would be opening. I don't necessarily think we need the refrigerator, the De Anza building yet, but usually they will give it to us from past autocrats, what they've talked about. So if that's the case, then we will need to reserve it for 3 days.
Interject on that assumption? If you have a feastocrat bringing stuff in on day whatever, you're going to need that refrigerator from the get-go.
Yeah,
unless they bring their own thing to keep it cool.
Yes, I'm gonna start having meetings with my feastocrat to make sure we don't need to reserve the Wednesday. So, well, ideally, we're also going to be only cooking for 2 days instead. We're going to do Friday, Saturday instead of Thursday. So they might not need, until Thursday when they arrive. But we'll see. Well, we're going to talk and discuss. But that's a different topic of discussion. But when I do reserve the De Anza building, it's only a day-by-day basis, and they include a $200 deposit for that day. So I'll have to call and confirm if that's correct. Otherwise, we're paying, $600 extra that we don't really necessarily need to, or $400 extra that we don't necessarily need to.
But you said it's a deposit, right? We get it back afterwards.
We do get it back afterwards, but it's like money that's tied up,
Okay.
right? So like it's $200, it's $400 extra that would be tied up in the deposit because I'm trying to reserve the site as soon as possible, and we don't really I don't know how the Kingdom funds are, but I suspect that it'd be better not to have that $400 just tied up in limbo. If
The Kingdom is perfectly fine with $400 being tied up at this point if we need to.
Okay, then I'll just call them, confirm, and make sure. But because I need to call them to talk about, there's also the alcohol permit.
Yes.
If we need to pay it in addition. From what I've read in their alcohol policy, is that it's serving and consumption, or serving or consumption. And so I need to confirm with them, since we're not technically serving alcohol and we are just consuming, if we still need to ask them for a permit, and if so, if that will cost us additional money to require that permit. In the past, the previous park rangers have kind of looked, looked the other way. We've never had this issue before, even when I ran Dark Shore in the past. So this is something that's very new, and we're kind of treading carefully on how to handle this.
Yeah, there was also, I believe somebody was mentioning that there's a way where it's like we can get, it's like the wording is like, or with appropriate approval. And then there was a question of whether or not our conversations with Monterey counted as appropriate approval.
Yes, that's one of the things I'm gonna address with the County of Monterey when I
When
call
in
them.
doubt, get it in writing.
Yeah, I'm gonna have it in an email basically saying like, hey, we do have, alcohol. We do all these checks. We have wristband system. We check IDs. We have our own security to make sure there's no, we're following their rules. Like they have a rule set that we have to follow, and we do follow them and have been. So I will double check with the County of Monterey to see, and they also require like an insurance policy. There's like an alcohol insurance policy. So that was also something I wanted to bring up with the BoD to see that if we need to talk to the current insurance contact that we have, see if that's an additional fee that they tack on, or what's
Yes. So there is a option. We don't typically get it for alcohol insurance. I've seen it in our previous contracts. Milan, you're the one who has the contact with our insurance person. So we can just reach out to.
will post it in the board.
Okay, I believe he said he's going to post it in the chat. Perfect.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so online, just for the notes, the online reservation will require an additional 400. Yeah.
Okay.
Because usually
above
it's
the standard what?
200.
Okay, so
it'd be 200, and it'll be additional 400, so it'd be 600 total.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understood.
So currently, what I'm looking at, sorry, let me look at the thing. So I have the rental of the youth overnight area, which is going to be for from October 23rd to October 27th, 2024, is $640, and then with the rental of the De Anza building for 3 days, $800 each day, the total is $3,240.
This is probably more of a question for the regent than the BoD, but methinks that's late enough to have coronation there instead of having to plan a separate event.
No, coordination by Kapora is required in November.
In November, yeah, that was something I was
So
considering.
close, though.
Yeah, I was considering having fog during November so we can have coronation at the same time.
Unfortunately, the Caporta requires that fog
Yeah,
happen during
so
September or October.
yeah, I
They're
was
they're
gonna
explicitly divided for a
Let's
reason.
change that. We've got 6 months.
I was gonna ask for an all thing, but I found out recently that there's gonna be a Ren fair in Santa Maria, and
Yeah.
one of our one of the SSD members basically made a deal with the city of Santa Maria, and they had them move their Ren fair date from October to November because of our event, and so I didn't want to. I feel like we should keep in good graces with the city of Santa Maria.
So the other fun thing about that is I actually found out what that November date is. And it is early in November.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
I wanted it because so my problem is if we do it too late in November, it'd be too cold. And there's also the risk of the storms, of the California storms. I wanted to do it like the 9th of November. I think that's the same weekend as that Ren Fair.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Yeah, so yeah, I was gonna ask for like an all thing to as like a trial, test to see if we can run fog in November because of the current climate conditions. Like it's just too hot. If we run it too early in November, it's too hot. If we run too late, or sorry, if we run too early in October, it's too hot. If we run too late, it's too cold. So we have to kind of be Goldilocks about this.
And it's
in
only
November,
last
yeah,
year that the
or in
temperature was
October.
a problem.
Well, it's not just
I'm gonna
last
say
year.
it'll get worse.
Yeah, in the previous Feast of Mars, it's always been an issue, or Feast of the Gods, it's always been an issue about weather. It's sometimes it's tricky to get the right date because it can just be too hot, and all the games will get canceled because it's just unsafe for people to be playing in that kind of heat. And it's happened before too. It's not the first time. Yes. So and then I think that's it for Feast of the Gods. We talked about the advance payment. I will talk to the current PM. Once after I call the county to see if we need to pay any like additional fees or if we can get the additional 2-day deposit waived or something like that. Excuse me, sorry,
As
I'm
long as
reading.
the money's being spent responsibly, you don't need to worry about tying up kingdom funds.
Okay.
For transparency, since it's supposed to be publicly available,
Yeah.
We've got approximately $20,000 in the bank.
Okay.
So that's why I said as long
Well-
as it's being used responsibly, I don't have an issue with a couple $100 being tied up.
The
And
current Feast of
specifically-
Gods account specifically is just shy of 13,000.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah. Okay. Then what I might do is I'll book it early. Like I'm looking at booking the site like within next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm reading the notes to make sure I addressed everything. Yeah, Renaissance Festival. If we're talking about the Santa Maria one, I think that's in November.
Yeah, so that is the Fantasy Fair. Their dates. Can I just copy this image? Does this work? No, that doesn't really work. Yeah, I was trying to see if I can just send you the image I have. I posted a link to the website. The website doesn't have a ton of great information on it right now, but currently their dates are November 9th and 10th.
Yeah, so there should be a week in between our events.
Yes. So it's a little close, but I think we can make it work. I'm just concerned about people burning out from two.
Yeah, that was my concern too. I mean, I can switch the dates to a week earlier if that's what the BoD wants. I don't mind.
That's a monarchy decision.
Okay.
We're just here to sign contracts and
Okay.
oversee money.
Okay. Then
Yeah, I mean, like ideally, yes, for the monarchy decision, yes, ideally we would get both working, but I also recognize that like the Feast of Gods bid was bid at a specific time and done with a specific idea in mind. So it's a conversation that should happen, but it is not necessarily a forcing one way or the other.
Okay, well, we can have a separate conversation about this. Okay.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'll pull in the representative for the fantasy fair and we can just see what we can work out. But the fantasy fair is also the 9th and the 10th, so it's 2 days long is what they have listed. So it's only one overnight, which does help alleviate the burnout burden.
Okay.
And it's their first year, so anyway, whole other set of conversations.
Yeah, different conversation we can have later.
Yes.
But and then potentially being King City or no. I mean, I can look into finding a different site, but in the past when I have tried running like a separate events, looking for a different site, it's quite near impossible.
That is actually another item on the agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have I mean, I saw that I've been talking to Damos about I did see from the minutes from the other meeting about potentially using a site near San Luis Obispo. I've also been looking into using a site near Santa Barbara, near Lake. I always forget the name of that lake, but it's like it's out there near San Ynez.
Yeah.
I think it's the one from the last meeting minutes.
Yeah. There's also potential site there. I would have to talk to the county of Santa Barbara because they have a weird camping policy. So I have to make sure that if we were to try to run an event there, how would I go about accommodating 150 plus people or something? How much would it cost? And I can let the BOD know what I find.
Cool.
And then I think, sorry, if you scroll, can you scroll up? Make sure I covered everything. Yes, the fee waiver. I was reading up on this. We would have to submit our event first, and then we would submit our fee waiver. The fee waiver, I believe Milan sent me some information that if we do like a volunteer day where we do like a park cleanup or help the park rangers do some sort of cleanup activity, we can potentially get our fee waived. I would have to call the number listed on their website and check if that's okay and what the volunteer size would need to be or what we would need to do to get the fee waived or even a partial fee waived because if so that would be great for us.
You said the total cost was around $3,000 right now?
Currently what I have is $3,240.
20 or 2 or 4?
240.
240, okay.
Yeah.
I think that's roughly in line with previous bids.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that would be the fee waiver. If so, I would like to, if we do get the partial fee waived or moved, I would like to move those funds that we would spend on the site to the Warcrat team or the Fusacrat team or something. I kind of want to use that money to like kind of add more props or build more stuff for the kingdom. More battle game oriented, like what's the word I'm looking for? Like obstacles. Like we're currently in one of our project ideas. We're looking to build like a PVC dome as kind of like used for like a line of sight or terrain. Terrain, that's the word I want to use. So like movable, easily stored terrain for the kingdom.
Saving money and doing service to get everybody some roses and more fun. Sounds good to me.
Yeah. So we would basically, yeah, we would let the kingdom keep whatever we build. And hopefully it'd be like easily storable too. So like in tubs or totes.
That reminds me, do we have that conversation?
On that topic, it is not on the agenda, but I do have information about that.
Okay, I will add it to the end of the agenda, I guess. I will add another here, which is a trailer update. So, okay. You have anything else you want to discuss here, Alan?
No, I don't think so. Does anyone have any questions for me. Make sure I covered everything.
I believe that was all of the information I was looking for. Anybody
Okay.
else in the BOD have any questions here? Okay, I think with that we can close item number 9.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to jump back up to item number 3. Item number 3 is very easy. Kingdom level events for my reign. Have any submissions come yet? No. I need to put out the call of submissions today to let people know. I meant to do it yesterday. Got busy with other things. So
Excuse me.
okay, I have had one, but it does
I
not
do
have
know
the
people
required
are working on them.
information. So Dagger, sorry, more specifically, Dagger submitted an event involving pinatas.
I saw mentions of that.
Yes. I've had several people reach out to me with starting conversation threads about what they can and can't do, or other options that they can have. So I know people are putting together bids. None have yet been submitted besides Daggers. So
Oh, I do have an update for the teaching event.
oh yes,
Yes, so we were doing this teaching event. I don't know if people have known. Alora and I have been starting working on it together. We worked on it separately from West March because we weren't sure if the kingdom was able to fund it, or we weren't sure the time frame because we've been having to move it and such. We're hoping eventually West March will take it over. So kind of like West March Wars. So we got a bunch of instructors. We're hoping to teach each path of the belt lines. So like a class for battle gaming, for crown, for all this such and such. We originally I was going to be able to fund it out of pocket, but due to certain life events, I won't be able to. So I might have to ask the BOD or the kingdom to help out. Currently, we're currently working with this Maker's Nexus. It's a maker site to host most of the teaching things. We tried getting local park, like a rent out a local park, but they require like a $2 million insurance policy, and that came out to be like 500 something dollars just for the day, and we were kind of like, no way, like that's way too expensive for like some kind of day event. We're looking to charge people just enough money just to cover whatever expenses come up, and then any additional money will go. The maker's space requires that any profits that we make goes to a donation to them, which we can say it's a donation from West March or something. So yeah.
okay, sounds reasonable. Okay, I believe that covers item number 4 there, and item number 3. I believe we can close both of those items now.
Second.
Perfect, thank you. Number 5, Darkshore. Has the board of directors received the final paperwork from the audit? Did we turn a profit? Please reach out to Alira and Alana for the details of the final results. Where are we storing the final data for events moving forward? James and/or Andy.
So we have not received final paperwork or anything from Allura, but I did go through balancing the books today. Let me bring up the exact numbers here.
I know Alana made an excellent spreadsheet.
Yeah, she did. Can I make a request for the future that we require? I don't know if it's required in our Kapor or anything, but we need to kind of make some sort of like they have to give kind of like post-event numbers.
I think it is required.
It is required. They have
Okay.
45 days to present that information. I believe it's 45 days to the board of directors.
Because I've had trouble when I was trying to come up with this bid. I had like significant issues trying to get any kind of numbers. Like.
Oh, have you not seen where I store all of the bids that I've seen in the past?
Yeah, I got the bid I got that the drive location for the bids, but nothing like post-event data.
Okay,
kind of
gotcha.
stuff. Because they have like the what they submitted as the bid, which is sort of helpful for me when I'm like crafting the bid together. But when I'm trying to figure out like what the final numbers were, so I can kind of like roughly estimate how many people are going to show up for my event, that was really hard to kind of figure out. And like what was the end cost of everything, so I can give an appropriate estimate, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so both Darkshore and Feast of Gods have a line item that says, I'll just read the Feast of Gods one because that's probably the one you care about more right now. So it's 7.7.4, maintenance of the Feast of God assets and weapons must be performed by the AutoCAD prior to return. AutoCAD has 45 days from the end of the event to provide the repair to maintain equipment. I thought that was, oh yeah, and a complete accounting of income and expenses with all receipts from the event must be provided to the West March Prime Minister within 45 days of the end of the event.
Okay.
So what I have at this point is that they profited about 3,500. It should be higher than that because I know day of I also counted out 1,700 in cash. I know that they were going to use some of that to reimburse their own members. I don't know how much of that is left, but I have not received that number back yet.
So you're still pending the cash box.
Right, which what could be up to another 1,700.
So were they saying they were just gonna finish all their random incidentals and get receipts and then pay that out? That's what the cash box was for?
Yes.
Yeah, Lana was trying to use the cash as much as possible to do the reimbursements just to make her end easier.
This is pretty common where they pay out of the cash box and then whatever's left over is what's returned. It does make that line item about that the receipts must be returned in, because a lot of the times people go and just present them to the autocrat or talk to the autocrat, and so those receipts don't always make it up.
I know she does have them stored in the cash box because I saw some of them go in during Darkshore.
Yeah, so anyway, they still have 45. They have 45 days from the end of the event, so that puts it middle of next month.
So, Alan, if it's helpful to you, the only items I have are the pots that were bought, the Darkshore insurance, the site fee, food out to 2 people, and then not cash or money unspent returned from those 2 people. Everything else is gate fees.
Okay, yeah. I think I'll reach out to Laura and Monica to get the final numbers and stuff like that, because they said
Yeah.
they will send me over the details too. So, but I was just talking about like the previous years, like last year's Feast of Gods was kind of like difficult to get numbers in, and I did ask on the West March boards like if they could send it out, and they just never got out. So I just want to make sure going forward that, including me, that I give this final report and it's made available to the next autocrat.
Yeah, Bloodwolf was the autocrat for the last one, and I have not seen him for months, so I'm not sure what's up with him right
He
now.
got busy with life, but we got the final closeout for Feast of Gods. I'm just not sure we got it in a fun spreadsheet. At least I'm like 90% sure we got the final closeout. Okay.
I'm assuming Milan would have been on somebody's case quicker if we hadn't.
Yes, agreed. Okay. So I think that answers...
I would have been what?
On somebody's case if we got zero information back about fog.
Yes, I have the ledger result about fog as well. Yes.
We haven't seen anything about Darkshore, but we did get to see fog from last fall.
Yeah,
Perfect.
so that is a kind of broader question that we should probably address at some point, which is how are we're supposed to have that transparent, but so far the information, as Alan is pointing out, isn't super transparent about like how much did we actually spend, where did the expenses go. We've been slowly able to capture where the bids are, but not the final closeout numbers.
We should perhaps put them on some kind of central repository for West March.
Yeah, but we can look into that.
And since we're mainly in California, maybe we could call it like California AmpGuard or campguard.com. Because I would definitely like to be more transparent than iBoD, because trying to find their minutes and budget was a real pain.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have anything else on item number 5?
I motion to close.
Then. Perfect. I
Okay,
guess.
perfect.
Perfect. Moving on to item number 6. Standard operating procedure, or the FAQ, on what the West March Board of Directors wants moving forward in regard to info before and after Kingdom level events. Oh, hey, look it. Any volunteers on
Hey,
creating this document if nobody else, Milan, is interested?
I think that whatchamacallit, Dame Olana's spreadsheet, it looked pretty fantastic to me, and stuff would auto update. So if we could incorporate that into it, I think it would make things reasonably easy for the Krat team.
I haven't seen it yet, so I'm going to hold any comment.
I just saw it because I was working gate for a bit.
Yeah, I saw it. It looks pretty good. I'm gonna take a look over it when I get the information. But on this topic as well, I have essentially transformed the bid process for Westmarch, because currently we have to submit it through like a PDF, and I don't know if any of you have tried using that PDF, but it is not good. It's very difficult to use. So I have made a Excel spreadsheet with all the questions that are on that bid process, and I'm hoping I want to make it public to Westmarch in hopes that they be able to use it and adapt it to whatever needs that they want, but use this as like a base template. And I can send and anyone who wants it, I can send you a link to that bid, because I'm updating it as I go, as I'm working on it.
Yeah. So, hi, Monarch here. Would love to see that, because this is actually one of the many tasks that I have on my plate that I wanted to get addressed in the next 6 months, which is a better version of that event bid form. Because you're not the first person to complain about it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it does need to have, standardized information to make
Yeah.
sure that people aren't just like deleting stuff off an Excel table and be like, yeah, I don't want to fill that in.
Yeah.
And luckily,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and luckily it's not in the corpora, so it's easier to fix.
Yes, and even in the proposed corpora, it just mentions the items that need to be included, but it does not say the exact form.
Yes, I can work on that too. That's my previous job. I had to work with Excel a lot, so I can make it so that no information can be deleted or changed. They can only fill out certain parts, but everything has a summary. Each Krat team has a summary page, and all flows to like a summary, the main page, and everything like that. So I can definitely send it in and if BoD wants to review it or anything to make sure we're all it falls in line or anything like that, I can also like make updates and whatever you need.
Okay.
Hey, sorry to interrupt. Alan, what were you looking for, financials for Fog or like stats for Fog?
I was looking at stats and financials for Fog.
I'm copying and pasting from the ledger to give you the Fog financials for last year right now.
Okay, great. Yeah, because it will help me, at least it will help Krats in the future to know what to expect. We might not necessarily need all that information, but it's good to review it. I think it's good to review it.
Because I also, in the last year's October BoD meeting notes, I have a list of the different expenses. But it doesn't look like I have, at least in the minutes, I don't have attendance records.
Okay, yeah.
If you're looking for attendance records, those are on the org.
Yeah,
that's true.
I learned about that trick recently. But it's just sometimes it's easier just to see if I can find it all in one spot instead of trying to like.
Yeah. Agreed. Okay. So it sounds like we are slowly working on this. It also sounds like Milan's interested. Sounds like I'm interested. So
I motion to table this for now.
Okay. Let's then, unless anybody else has anything to continue on number 6, we can move on to number 7. Number 7, the final discussion about Aurea Soltis. The last conversation with Victoria is they had $253.47. Westmarch. We already handled this.
Great. I move to close this item.
Second.
This item was already, I'm just gonna make a note here, was already handled in the April BoD meeting. They were approved by Scorch.
So the real question is, now do we ask them to do a bid on their event?
That's
We've
up to
actually already
Monarch's
approved
decision.
it out of West
Yeah.
March funds. It came
It
out of
was
Monarch
purely a
discretionary.
joke. I'm sorry.
How
Hey,
dare you make jokes during this meeting? You know how this is run.
Well, I
the
mean, I
more
know how it's run
documentation
when
properly recorded, the better.
I know how it's run when Milan is here, but I mean, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So this is already handled in the April BoD meeting. They were approved by Scorch to use up to the amount they have as a final going away event. The remainder of the funding will be transferred to the kingdom after the event. Perfect. Closed. Moving along. Bear request to speak about the 501c3 research. Oh, Jody's here. I do not see Bear here.
No.
I move to table this item until or Chris is present.
Yes.
Second.
All right, I have just put a screenshot in chat of the general money from Feast.
That's pretty good.
Screenshot in chat. Oh, there we go. Just drop this on my desktop real fast and then grab that real fast and just drop it into the BoD meeting notes. Oh, yes, I love image number 2700.
So am I reading this right? Though it was a profit of 4,526.96.
Let's be about that. Yes.
BFOG 2023 expenses. Okay. Yeah, our events are surprisingly possible most years, or profitable most years. Okay, so we've tabled item number 8. Item number 9. Actually, one quick thing. Jody, your name came up earlier. Did we have anything we need to go back on that? Oh, it was in talking about item number 10. So we'll get to that back, I guess, in a second. So item number 9, what support can the BoD give the IT team to help them? Right now it is just a Zeus continuing to need help. Needed updates to the website. So Zeus is the IT board of directors lead.
He's not the only
primarily
one on the team. I know Allura is on it, and there might
correct.
Yeah, but he's our chair, I think we call
Yes,
him.
thank you. That is the wording. Zeus is our chair. We have several other people helping Zeus in other areas. Zeus primarily handles the website and a handful of other things. But we have Allura helping out with Come Try LARP and a few other odds and ends. The whole Monarchy team actually supports the Facebook page and keeping that up and running. They all have moderator privileges on that. And I have somebody, actually Ginger's child, who is a Discord expert. And as soon as they are done with school, they are offered to help us out this summer to help us get our Discord up and running. Or more running, I should say. It's already up and running. And then, of course, we always have Ben helping us out with all of the various AMP wiki pages.
I've also been trying to do what I can with the website. I have not done much at all. CA AMP card, the process for changing things and the server user interface is difficult to say the least. So I absolutely understand why Azus has such difficulty trying to get things done and why things go broke.
So I have a quick question then. Is it easier, would it be easier to, for at least for events, to have our own separate page, or are we trying to incorporate everything in the CA AMP card?
So
No, we're distinctly trying to put it all in one place so that people
Yes.
don't have to go searching over different things. It would be one thing if we were to keep the same URL year to year.
We actually tried that with last year's Feast
Yeah.
of Gods, and the additional expenses and maintenance to attempt to keep that running just became exorbitant.
There isn't-
We tried that experiment, and it just kind of ended up showing us it wasn't a viable option.
There is another way to do things. I would have to check with Azus how things work with that, but we could essentially create a sub-site of CA AmpGuard that perhaps is easier to edit and pass that off. I know distinctly that he's created roles on there, and one of the roles being event runners with certain permissions to try to make it feasible for the Krats to create a page on CA AmpGuard so we can have everything centralized, get all the information out to even those that don't use Facebook and don't use Discord.
Okay, thank you.
I know one of the holdups is that is still the two-factor authentication on Google things. I meant to get that taken care of with Kaya at Darkshore. It did not happen, so we still need to have a phone call and get that fixed.
Yeah. So I actually recently ran into this, and can tell you how we ended up resolving it, which was the two-factor authentication is turned off. However, Google also has a thing where if some new, computer logs in, like when I was trying to log into Monarchy, it does a Google security check, which has the same wording as a two-factor authentication, and it uses the same information as a two-factor authentication, and there is no way to disable that.
Right.
So the way it was handled is that I coordinated with Scorch as the outgoing, and they were able to verify me from a known computer, and I was then able to get in.
Okay, because I know one of the problems that Azus and I were having was we wanted to set up a lot of forwarding, and that also has the same problems and requires Kaya's phone number still. So
Yes.
we talked about getting a West March phone number or something, or otherwise trying to make it work so we didn't have to keep going to a Monarch.
I think there was also discussions about creating email at caampguard.com, but I do not remember where that discussion went.
So that comes from once we are not fully like a nonprofit, we gain access to certain nonprofit resources through certain websites like Microsoft. And that was one of our big hopes and dreams. Yes, I was also going to bring up that as well, Ginger, which is one of the options I know that was an option a couple of years ago is you could set up a Google Voice number, which we then tie that potentially into the thing. But the thing is, what Google account would you tie it to? And the answer is the email address you're attempting to get into. But
we could tie it to it.westmarch.com.
yeah, and that's an option. Or we could set the backup recovery for the, for them to be each other. So that way, like the IT one could be recovered by the Monarchy one could be recovered by the IT. So it would require two people to lose the passwords at the same time to be unrecoverable.
Or once we have our 501c3 status, we get like a Google Workspace account set up and have individual accounts for each person up to 10 for free.
Yep. So I think the answer is we believe that this can be handled once we're a 501c3.
Okay.
But until then, we will suffer, but we have workarounds.
Motion to table this until we're a 501c3.
Yeah, there is the other option, though, just to quickly close out, of like I could update it to my phone number for my reign, and then when we hand over to the next person, we update it to their phone number so we at least have it. That's the current Monarch. But it's just one other thing to deal with during the transition process.
Okay. Second to table this until we have the 501c3.
Perfect. Sounds good.
I have a quick question for 10 real quick, because I just remembered.
Yep.
So when we're reserving the site, Currently, I'm just using my email address. Are we going to have West March make an account with the county parks?
So this has been a previous discussion multiple times about how do we actually handle the payment, who actually does the work, how does this happen? It is so far it has always been the autocrat is the one who does the payment and like submits the receipt to the board of directors, or they work with James and James would like figure out how to get a check cut. And Jody, feel free to jump in here at any time.
Usually we've actually paid by credit card,
Pay by credit card. Okay.
and that's either been me or James. Or the treasurer or the prime minister, I should say.
Yeah.
So what I've done for my events is I've contacted the Parks Department and said, this is the weekend that we want the event, and they set it aside for us. We don't need a deposit or a reservation necessarily. I have done all of the paperwork and the forms and the applications, and my name has been on it. In the past, I'm not sure for this last Dark Shore, but the insurance has always been under my name. I think maybe this last Dark Shore West March took care of it. It was kind of difficult for the board of directors to do all of the paperwork and the applications. So I did all of that and submitted it to the BoD in the past, almost as a formality, because it was almost not involving BoD oversight, even though there are contracts and things like that. What happened this last Dark Shore is we secured the site, we did the applications, we got the form. One Dark Shore, there was a glitch where there was some public meeting where we had to present what we were doing to the public for transparency. This last Dark Shore, we didn't have to do that meeting, but things got so bumped up to the day of the event that we barely got the check mailed into the Parks Department to avoid the fee. We can secure the site if we pay and reserve it a year ahead of time. That was my understanding. And as I'm just kind of looking at the notes here. And if I don't answer all the questions you asked, just remind me. I did ask about the volunteer option, but I think the problem with that is really the only local volunteers are Borehaven, and driving 4 hours or 5 hours to get to the site to do volunteer work. And then, for like a weekend and then driving back.
What about incorporating that service into the event? And even if the service has to be done before the event to qualify, if we say at Fog do the service for Dark Shore and at Dark Shore do the service for Fog?
Well, I think the service is pretty much, is there work that needs to be done on the benches at the feast hall? Is there work that needs to be done maintaining the Deanza building? Obviously, the sewage for the bathroom by the Deanza building now is a whole thing. It's like permits, and it's a major thing. And I'm not sure with what it kind of was implicated to me that that's going to be done by Fog, but it's like probably digging up the sewage and sewer lines, and I don't know that they can do that in 5 months. So I'm not really sure, honestly, what the volunteer work would be to qualify for some sort of a site fee relief.
We looked into this previously. I'm trying to call back because it was like a year ago, the BoD meeting minutes. Milan or Andy, do you remember?
Sorry, I was looking at the bank account. Remember what? Sorry.
So a couple of years ago, or I think it was last year around Feast of Gods, we had this same conversation about what work would be required in order to get some and or all of the fee waived. Because it was a lot of like, when they need support, running a large event or something like that, they just need like additional people to help clean up trash afterwards, or, do repairs on various buildings, things like that. And I'm trying to remember, it was like the number of working hours or something like that. I know we looked into this.
I also remember having the conversation. I do not remember the results.
And I personally haven't talked with the Parks Department about what type of volunteer work they would need and when that would be. I just never pursued that.
Okay, Milan, why on the wiki page does the West March BOD minutes not actually have a link? I was trying to quickly see if I could just scan through some old ones, but I don't have it readily accessible. Because I remember
recently
the
went through
hour.
the past couple. I can tell you it wasn't discussed this year.
No, it would have been like August or it would have been around last fog because we talked about this, but it was about a year ago this time. I'd have to go dig it up, but for some reason I'm remembering it being a decent amount of work unless we could get like 10 or 15 people to show up and like volunteer a day.
And that was kind of my memory of it, is trying to get enough people there to actually do a significant amount of work on a weekend that didn't involve an event. I just didn't really see that as that it was going to happen.
Yeah.
And my
So I
suggestion
relied on
incorporating it.
Right. So I relied on fundraising and those kinds of things instead. The other thing was like the whole paying with a credit card. So what happened at this last Dark Shore was you can pay by cashier's check, and that was I literally was emailing them every day. Did you get the check? Did you get the check? Did you get the check? And they got the check, but then Donna had gone out of the office, and when she came back 4 days before the event, it's like, yep, I got the check and it's all good. There was James remind me, there was a 7% fee when we had to pay with a credit card,
Right.
which we were able to avoid. But that was like paying a deadline before the events. And the other thing, just so I remember to say it, is if we secure the site at this place in advance, a year in advance, there's been so much discussion about, do we want to stay at this park? Are the facilities okay? And then with the bathrooms, committing to this park for a year, I don't know. I love this park. For me, it's like a tradition, but there's always been, well, can't there be someplace else that doesn't have these problems or better facilities? So committing a year in advance, I don't know.
I'll say from my end, it looks like things move slowly enough that doing 1 year in advance is probably okay for right now.
Well, and from what I can see on their webpage, we can reserve anytime. Like we can reserve the fog one now from their webpage. Alan, I think you've dug a little bit more into this than I have at this point.
Yeah, I can reserve it right now. That's what I have. That's how I got the payment total for you. Was I just did like a theoretical. We're camping at the youth area for 4 days. We need the Deanza building for 3 days. This is how much it was. What I was more asking of is, are we going to create an account for West March that says like using a West March email instead of my personal email? Because going forward, are we just having all the crats just using their personal to make a personal account with the county Monterey Parks, or should we standardize it and have one email that we log in to make the reservation?
Create a CRAT email so that they don't have to, for example, have access to the Monarchy email.
I think that would be a good idea. I don't know what the other crats have done, but I've always used my personal email. I've always used my, personal information because it was more efficient to just take care of it, and then worked with the PM to make get the payments made.
Yeah.
The other thing too, I just wanted to say is this last Dark Shore, the reservation for the Deanza building. When I've worked with Donna before, it's almost been noon to noon. So the Deanza building rental has been like noon on Thursday through noon on Sunday, and it's been Thursday, Friday. So it's been 3 days. They kind of me some slack and given me an extra day because Sunday until noon, we're not really using the building. We just take time to clean it. But in the last application, it was 8 a.m. to 8 a.m. So there was some difficulty in negotiating the cost for being able to open the Deanza building at noon on Thursday, to let gate open, let the Feastocrat come in, and then clean up by Sunday at noon. When the event actually went until 5 o'clock on Sunday, they actually were going to charge us an extra day. But we were able to negotiate it for what we've always done in the past for just the 3 days for $1,800 instead of $2,400 for the Deanza building.
Okay, yeah, so that'll be a different conversation. That's separate from the BOD that I'll have to have with the County of Monterey because I'm planning a 4-day starting Wednesday. So, but like I said, it's a different conversation. But yeah.
FYI.
But oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Just FYI, just so you know what the conversation was for the last event.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, if so, then that's why I want to make sure, with the BOD wise that we should be making our own separate West March CRAT team account or whatever, or should I just do it myself? Make the booking, the reservation of the site.
From my perspective, do it for yourself for now, and we'll have to get with Azus and see what our technical limitations are, and also get on that 501c3 so that we can have better access to setting up other emails.
Okay.
Any other input from somebody? I motion to close this item for now, or table it.
Yeah, I will say, digging through the old notes, they aren't as detailed, the notes that Chicken did last year, but we did discuss this in May about the potential of doing community service discounts, but the details of that are not written here in the notes. So we probably have to go watch the video for May.
If you want, I can, I was gonna say I can peel through the video on YouTube.
We don't need to do it now, but
May I ask a question?
Sure.
And so also it says conversation still ongoing about the Renaissance Festival. And Fog, is there a Ren Fair in King City, November 9 and 10?
That's actually the Ren Fair in San Luis Obispo. So there's a new Ren Fair that we've been working with.
Okay.
San Luis Obispo or Santa Maria?
They're right next to each other. In the San Luis Obispo County.
They are 45 minutes apart.
Okay. I'll add their website here. I had it up a second ago. As I said, their website isn't super detailed right this exact moment, but they have been, so it's in Santa Maria. They are letting us have the event site for free. We are required to have insurance, but it sounds like it's the same amount as we normally do for a standard King City event. And if the site turns a profit, they will actually reimburse our insurance. So that's awesome. Being November 9 and 10, it just means one overnight day. They've already worked it out that all of the vendors for the standard San Luis Obispo Ren Fair, which happens in actually around now, June, July timeframe, that those vendors have also said that they will show up to this one. So, we don't necessarily even have to do a lot of like a feast or anything like that, because if we wanted to, we can always use the Ren Fair for basic foods, or we're right next to the city. So there's a lot of conversation about like that the cost is very low for West March to help with this event. And they're being very accommodating with our requests so far of how to do it, because they really want us to be part of this event.
These are the folks that came in and talked to us in our BOD meeting a few months ago, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and on their webpage, which I've now added the link to both in the chat and in the minute meeting notes, it looks like they're at Foster Road in a park that's like right in Santa Maria, and we are allowed to camp on the site. We were allowed to put tent stakes into the ground. I think the depth was like 6 inches was the maximum depth they allowed us to go into the ground, which is plenty fine for tent stakes. Even some basic things. They're really excited to have like the, if we can bring out the castle. I was told that apparently Dragonvale or Sergeta offered to bring up their tower. So
Who offered that?
I don't know.
I mean, I'm not saying no, just
I blame Milan.
We'll blame Milan on
sounds
this one.
reasonable.
Okay. I'm talking with our point of contact, who is Vorik, out of Seven Sleeping Dragons, and they've been doing this coordination with us, and I've been trading messages to them back and forth. Let me actually see if I have other information from my messages that I can quickly share.
Yeah, because they were patient enough to be the last item on the agenda a few months ago and wait for like an hour and 45 minutes until we got to them.
Yeah, so we have been invited as volunteers. Attendees can do all the standard Ren Fair stuff and meet a bunch of different people. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so and a lot of the other details are just kind of on the webpage, which they are still flushing out. Yeah. So it sounds like, to me, it sounds like a really good opportunity if we can make it work. Its closeness to Darkshore, as we talked about earlier, it's just a little unfortunate this year, but being just a one-night event, and it's kind of in the middle, and we already have, Seven Sleeping Dragons, I know, is already really into working this and making it a thing. So I think we'll be okay. But as we mentioned, Alan, myself, and Ralph, who's Vorik, will talk more about this and figure how that's all working together. Okay, so that, I believe, closes out item number 10 again. Item number 11. Location hunting committee for future events. Athena volunteered. Athena is not here to help out on this. I know, Jody, you talked about this. Alan, you've looked into this. Milan and myself have also looked into this. Ben, I know you've looked into this. Do we have more update on this? Should we move along?
We need to set up a committee, right?
Yes. So I think the action here is Ethan sets up a committee.
I was going to say,
Sweet.
apart from a committee, if we just make use of the autocrats for these coming months for all the bids that you're hoping to have, we basically gather feedback from them.
So that is actually my grand plan. Part of it I've been told over the years that everybody has this amazing site that they think of. They just haven't been able to run a large event there, and because of the risk of like it being a bad site. So what I'm hoping with these monthly bids is that people in these various areas who go, hey, that place over there is really good, let's try it out for a day. That's one of the major things I'm like looking at in these event bids, is trying out new sites that would not normally be used and just seeing if they even work for our purposes. So we have those autocrats all looking and hopefully giving us some options. In addition, one of the councils I set up a bunch of different councils, but one of them was an autocrats council. I know, Jody, you volunteered to be on that, as well as several others. So these are all people who have typically run previous events. They're a great resource to tap into to see what else they've looked at. A lot of these people in the past have looked at potential event sites. So I'm hoping to be able to tap into that. But it sounds like I need to set up a more specific event site looking committee, and so that way we can at least write down all the places and the pros and cons and have it in a spreadsheet.
Make a motion to start this committee.
That's a monarchy thing.
Yeah, I think the answer is Ethan, go do it. Okay. Do we have anything else that the board of directors would like to hear on this?
Sounds like the board of directors doesn't have purview over this action item.
Perfect. Moving on. Trailer update. Okay. Milan dropped.
I dropped that in there. Essentially, I wrote up a nice all thing proposal. I did leave some blanks for things to be decided, but essentially asking the kingdom to set aside $3,500 is the number I kind of came up with to buy the trailer, and explained comparing that to the self-storage options, how that would work. And I thankfully Dash is here, but I obliquely said that a volunteer from the kingdom has been found and agreement is in process or has been completed by the time the all thing would happen to store the trailer for X dollars a year so that consideration is had to make the contract valid. And how that's a much smaller burden than somebody paying out of pocket to store the event gear year after year.
So Dash, what is your yearly rate?
Dash, you're muted.
That depends on how many spiders you want with it.
Whether or not it comes with a cleaning fee.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so we never got around to talking about parameters of what needs to be done. I'm looking at what needs to be stored. Is all that going to fit in the trailer? So it's just the trailer that's coming in?
So thanks to Ethan having done the math on that one, it would technically fit in a 10x5 space, everything, but to have enough space, you're saying a 10x10 storage unit would be fine. Most of the trailers and stuff that looking around at was 14x8. So that comes out to be more space than a 10-foot by 10-foot storage area. So it should be plenty enough and give us room that we don't have to Tetris too hard.
Yeah, but do the castle walls fit in an 8-foot? And how tall are they?
The castle walls fit in the back of a Ford F-350, and I believe they are
those are 4x8 then.
I would make a guess that they're 4x8, but that's just a guess.
Right. Because
Yeah.
they're plywood panels.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if they fit in the truck, they should fit. Yeah.
So you're talking about a trailer. Is that one of those like cubes that they take off the docks and store things in and transport?
No,
The
it'd
one
be
we were
closer
looking
to
at
like
is
a
just a pickup trailer.
So the pickup, so in the past, we've had discussions about this as a like a physical storage unit. And the discussion has been, well, where is that going to be best stored? Do we get like a storage unit in King City?
So we do have.
So where does this trailer, who has this trailer and where is it in?
Okay, let me catch you up. So the last few times we have actually gone through and done a big evaluation. I went and called a bunch of places and did a big old evaluation of basically anywhere within about 2 hours of King City for storage. And I made a lovely spreadsheet. And I can send you that spreadsheet. It's also in previous BoD meeting minutes because I love spreadsheets.
Of course you do.
I can summarize that the numbers were that it would be 1,500 to 2,500 per year for a 10x10 storage unit. Though some of the places had first-year discounts for $1,000. And it is very common to be able to get in a trailer unit for as low as $2,000. So for sure, within the first 2 years of paying for a storage unit, it would pay for the cost of a trailer. Oh, there we go.
Here's my spreadsheet.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So, and the other thing is, so I this is the spreadsheet of every place I called. We then narrowed it down to the yellow ones, and then I went and called them for additional details to get additional stuff about access and outdoor drive-up prices and how it would work. Did they have a key lock or was it like a code that we could then just say, hey, Autocrat, here's the gate code to go get our stuff, all those things. And the thing was, it came down to, it's like we're really sitting in like the $1,500 to $2,000 range, as Ben was saying. And for those prices, we're looking at like we could purchase a trailer in the $3,000 to $5,000 range. So our return on investment is 2.5 to 3 years, which is a really good return on investment. Dash, Ginger, and actually Lady Allura both have stepped up and said, hey, I've got a place you could keep a trailer. Just sign a contract so that way the liability doesn't come back to them if something crazy happens. Which we have a similar contract right now with a Zeus for the castle.
Right.
So we've done this in the past.
And he's been storing at least the castle walls at no charge.
Yes.
You wouldn't even take like $50 or something. So this would be stored on someone's property and all of the event equipment would be in it, and then somebody would tow it down to each event and we
Yes.
would
Yes.
pull out of it whatever we need.
Yes.
So I went through in the proposal, and so since it was my understanding basically that everybody would have to go to the storage unit, put it in a trailer of their own anyway, and haul it. It'll also make it easier if it's already in the trailer for them. And then if we get to Ginger, we were discussing about writing up a contract to make this more fair than it previously has been. And Ginger was potentially willing to store the trailer on their property.
Okay.
Because like right now the Feast of God stuff is actually just stored at Bacchus's storage location, and we actually don't have a contract with them. So there's like a weird liability thing there that nobody feels great about.
Well, and also the Regent's boxes are kind of mixed with his feast boxes also, from what I've seen. And so it's really hard to track like
Yes.
the tablecloths and what's West March's Regent's boxes versus what's been kind of mixed with theirs.
100%. And things like these pots and pans that we had to buy for Darkshore, we did like a whole event bid, and all of the Monarchy is actually really confused why that wasn't considered part of the Regent's box and therefore had to be purchased out of Monarch funds.
Yeah,
We're all confused on that one, but it got handled. So this would also make it easier for our like incoming regents to actually, they're responsible for tracking all of our stuff and its quality and whether or not it's still viable and things like that. And they're supposed to have a big old list of all of our stuff, and having it in one movable trailer makes that easier.
Yeah. So when I was regent, I literally went through and did an inventory, and there was a spreadsheet, which I'm sure you'll appreciate. And I have no idea what happened to it, but I have no idea if there is an rain specific inventory of the regent's boxes and where they are and what's in them. You know, I knew where they are because they were on my patio for 6 months, but I then they were somewhere else, and
the list
I
was
don't
still
know
there
where
when
they
I was
are.
regent.
What was that?
The list was still there when I was regent, but I never had to open the box.
Okay. I like this idea. I think if we have somebody that can keep it and with the contract and we buy the trailer, I know I'm not on the VOD, but just as an autocrat, it's just kind of nice that here's the stuff. It's all in one place. It's secure. And the only thing would be, do we have somebody that can tow that down to each event?
So we actually looked at that as well. And if you rent a U-Haul like Ford F-150 with gas and everything, I think it was $100 or $150. I'd have to go grab the exact number. So it was a very reasonable event, like cost for the event to have to do. And then we also have, again, multiple members who were like, hey, I've got a truck, I'll haul it for you. So,
Check and see, because when I moved Cameron down to SoCal, we rented a truck, and with the gas, it was more like 500 to 700, but it still is
My
less.
understanding was that for people to move it regardless, they needed some kind of truck. So whatever autocrats were using so far, I assumed that it would still be enough that it would have a trailer hook, or at least
What's
the
the
ability
tongue
to
weight?
move everything.
What's the tongue weight on the trailer?
Indeterminate.
Indeterminate. So specifically because of the way, so talking with Milan about this previously, because the trailer market is so, what's the word?
Immediate?
Immediate, yes. We would have to pre-approve the funding and then appoint somebody like Milan to be able to spend that money, with a quick turnaround. So the wording on the Alding will be something like, here's the reason, here's what space, here's how we've decided what it is, here's the cost, here's where we want the money to come from. This approves it for a, period of time, so that way Milan can go out and buy a trailer.
Up to a maximum of an amount.
Up to a maximum of an amount, yes.
Do you have a recommendation on a maximum tongue weight, Dash?
I don't know on a 14x8 trailer. So the tongue weight is how much the trailer is unloaded, and then you have a vehicle that's going to tow it, and it needs the tongue weight plus the loaded weight to make sure that you have the proper towing vehicle. So I do have a few I have no problem storing it on my property. End of story. I can do it free 99, or we can do it $1 a year so that it's a valid contract, whatever that works. When it comes to towing, I mean, we get the stuff there all the time now, but I have, I have lots of concerns about towing. So,
Is
yeah.
there a liability for the person that's towing all of the stuff down to the event in
No.
case there's an accident or
No, because
something
it's
like
not
that?
a moving load. And if you have an insured vehicle, your trailer is insured also. And it's not a live load. There's nothing moving in it, hopefully, if you packed it right.
Don't store the horse in the trailer. Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, what happened to the spiders?
Oh, I'll remove those for a fee of like,
Who's keeping those?
$5 a box.
The spiders are not insured. I think that's what we discovered.
Oh.
Yeah. No, the spiders are not insured.
But that does bring up another thing of part of why I was saying drafting up a contract and talking to Ginger about the money behind it, is in case there is any liability
Right.
on your end.
Right. So like if something happens on my property, like 2 years ago we flooded, you know, like I would move the trailer, obviously, if that happens. But if I'm not here when it floods, you know, or God forbid, a wildfire or a giant earthquake and the house falls on the trailer, you know, those kinds of things.
Not that it
So-
was much safer here in Fresno in the storage unit with Bacchus.
Yeah, well, see, I don't know. But if it's all in one trailer, it's a lot easier to move and a lot less worry about. And
Yes.
then I have another question. So, like, if it's an autocrat from the south, they're not going to want to drive all the way frick up here to get a trailer.
So that was part of my question.
Am I required to bring it
but
down? And if so,
what was communicated to me is that essentially it has been uncommon for autocrats to come from the south. And if we keep, so like how
keep going
Ethan
like
had
we're
looked
going.
at a bunch of these centrally located storage units, they were super inconvenient to everybody. Whereas if we stick it in the north, it's inconvenient for the south, but in some cases it might be more convenient because they can fly and pick it up.
And hold on, specifically the Kapora says that the autocrat must account for it. The way we've been doing it in the past, like for the Feast of Gods, is we hand it to Bacchus and Firin do all the laundry, and then go, yes, it's all here. And then tell the autocrat, yes, it's all here. So like the autocrat is responsible to make sure that it gets counted and that it will be at the site and is returned, but they do not have to do it personally.
I charge extra for laundry.
Yeah.
So we expect to have less uncompensated labor happening.
Yeah. So exactly. So that's the other thing is like, oh, if the autocrat makes arrangement of like, okay, it's going to end up from the Feast of God site, and it's going to go to Steve Smith, and Steve Smith's going to do all the laundry, and then in 45 days Steve will do a full accounting, and then like we'll figure out how to get it back to you. Like that is just part of that loop.
Gotcha. Okay.
Or maybe Steve says, yeah, I'll store it for the next 6 months until Darkshore comes around. Like
okay. And then my only other thing is I do need 24-hour notice to access just to move the boat so that it has a full pull through.
Yes.
Oh,
that would
put
be
it all
part
on
of
a
things.
boat, then we can have some really interesting ship battles.
Yeah.
Hey, whatchamacallit? That's what the marina at Wyvern Spur is for?
Yeah.
It's true.
Why
Again,
just draw, lines on the ground for a boat battle when we can have them with actual boats?
Hey, we used the lake at SSD before as well.
I was looking at the lake next to San Ynez. That was one of the sites I'm looking at.
Lake Comanche? Is it?
No, it's
Chumash.
yeah.
Chumash.
Lake Kachuma.
Chuma. There we go.
Okay. So to kind of put the bow on it, this spreadsheet I'm sharing over here on the left right now shows the approximate sizes that we were able to get from the people who have the information. The region box, the Director Castle, the Fog Castle. I put down an estimated dollar cost of $5,000, but I can put in $3,500 or whatever. Then there was the cost about where does the money come from. So if we assume that the region boxes are owned by the kingdom and they are responsible. So this comes out of, sorry, backing up one more second. In the Kapora, there is a fun thing talking about storage space. specifically this section right in here, which is a storage unit, may be used for Feast of Gods. The Darkshore has the same wording. And then it says space may be shared with other Westmarch assets as long as the Feast of Gods assets pay a proportional share of the rented space, such as if the Feast of Gods takes up 60%, the Feast of Gods will pay 60% of the contracting price. So that would cover the things like if we had to get insurance on it, it would be split based upon, you know, the percentage of the assets that are in that area, or in this case, the purchasing of the trailer.
Yeah.
So looking at that, the Feast of Gods asset takes up about 36%, the Darkshore Castle takes up about 34%, and the Regent's Box takes up 30%. So if we divide the $5,000 between them, it comes out to those numbers, about $1,500 to $1,800 out of each one of those accounts. If we consider the Regent's Box, which are 99% of the time just used for Feast of Gods and Darkshore, to just be part of those event costs and are divided evenly amongst the two, then it comes out to about $2,500 of the $5,000. So this would be my proposal as the monarch, to say the money is coming from the event accounts as per the Kapora for storage, which is 7752, and Darkshore has it as 7862 for proportionals, and say that the trailer funding comes out of those accounts. The other reason is those accounts have more money than all the other accounts, so it, in my opinion, is the best place to pull the money from.
Sweet.
So this is what I'm proposing for kind of adjusting a little bit of this wording that you have here, Ben.
Yep,
just talking about where the money would come from, which is just, it's basically 50-50 out of the Darkshore and Fog accounts once you do all of the things, because it's like 34 or like 54% and 56%, so, or whatever, 49-50. There we go, 49-50. I can do math.
Silly question. Have you all talked to Fearon and Bacchus about doing this, and they're fine with it?
Not yet, because we don't have enough details for it. I will say, however, that Link is annoyed at having to take care of it. He definitely said to me that he was hoping to not have to do that again.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
What about the generator and the ditch lights?
So that's an interesting question. There are generator and ditch lights that Bacchus typically provides that are their own.
But we have our own.
No, but Westmarch has,
Westmarch has our own.
Yeah,
all the gear that was at Darkshore, that on the sound system, the microphones, the speakers, the 2 ditch lights, and the generator were Westmarch's. Fearon didn't bring any of Bacchus's stuff.
Okay, so
it all belongs to Westmarch.
It would probably go in here. We would have to talk about storage of the generator, because fuel is always fun. Now the region boxes just cover the several boxes of it, but we'd have to add like generator here, and just estimate a size. But that one was a pretty small generator. It was like 2 foot by 3 foot.
It's very small. It's pretty easy with a 2-man lift, and as long as they ran it empty before they put it back in the trailer, it'd be fine.
Yeah. So what it comes down to is, if I just say it's like 6 extra cubic feet on here, right? Roughly.
You have room.
And then we said this was a 14 by 8. So what am I doing? Why am I making this difficult?
For the sake of the all thing, if we just want to say, just explain in the reasoning that we went through and the spaces taken up by the 2 are approximately even, so the final total for the trailer will be taking evenly, 50% out of Fog and 50% out of Darkshore to make the math easier, especially for the voters.
Yes.
So I have a question then regarding the size. What if, so I'm looking for, at least for Fog, I'm looking to like add like the additional terrain stuff, right? So will this fit some of those things? Because what I'm also thinking is too is like, has Westmarch ever considered getting those like bunkers, those like paintball bunkers that I don't know if you've ever seen Crom
the
bring out?
inflatable ones?
Yeah, the inflatable ones. So
Those
like,
were so cool.
yeah, so has like Westmarch ever considered buying a few of those, and then and if we could store them with this trailer, that'd be great, because then we get additional use out of them.
So this trailer does give us some room to grow, based on the cubic feet numbers that he has there, and assuming that the trailer is 14 by 8 by 5, that would fill the trailer by about 2/3.
Is it only 5 or 6? They're usually 6, so you can walk in. Yeah.
I was just saying, just to be conservative,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
because since we don't have a specific trailer in mind, we don't know.
Right.
That would be about 2/3. So there would be space, but adding additional things will increase the difficulty of the Tetris playing.
But
I'm
think
good at
that's a-
Tetris.
But I think that's a really good question because there are things that we make for each event that might be able to be reused that people make and they do all this work for events and then it just kind of goes away. But there are things that we could maybe store that people could use that would decrease the cost of materials for the event.
Yeah. So we do have some room to grow with this. That was part of our looking into that. Because likewise, I'd said Ethan had done the math and everything would fit in a 10 by 10 by 5 storage unit.
Yep.
And so increasing it to a 10 by 10 would give some feasibility, and an 8 by 14 is bigger than a 10 by 10. So
Yeah.
if we were to try to store more, if we were looking to store more things, and that was why people don't want it to be in a trailer, that would extra jump the cost in terms of storage unit. The storage unit would cost significantly more then.
Well, I have
And
lots of room.
So doing a rough calculation, the trailer's if it's a 14 by 8 by 5, the trailer's about 42% full right now. Now, obviously, that's assuming 100% perfect packing efficiency, but
I mean, I'm that good.
Yeah. That's why I just wanted to bring up is if we consider like, future growth, like future use.
Growth.
Like, yeah.
We have minorly considered it.
Great idea.
Yep. Okay. So yeah, Ben,
But
you
on
and
that
I can
topic,
finish the
it's also a
wordsmithing
matter
all that
of
about Alding.
I don't know how much is the problem with the kingdom, but with my outside experience of compulsions to save things that are cheaper to just remake. Where we want to store something large, but the cost of storage, particularly on an annual basis, might be more than the cost to just remake it. So that's something to consider, but also given that a lot of the stuff was with volunteer hours, that does change the calculus.
Yes. Okay, Ginger, did you have another thing you wanted to talk about here?
I don't think so. You guys asked me
Okay.
what my fees are. $1 a year.
Yeah,
Cool.
the BOD
Y'all
will
cover it.
we'll figure that out.
Y'all
We'll send
decide
you a
if
I
you
just
message.
wanted
wanna-
to discuss that.
You
We'll
guys
draft
all
up
decide if you want to be under my homeowner's insurance or if you want to pay your own renter's insurance. on it.
Yeah, and there's a larger conversation about overall kingdom insurance that's been slowly evolving over the last 8 months, so it might get tied up into that. But I think we push that to next month.
I have enough details to start drafting a contract at the very least, so that hopefully around the time that the all thing gets approved and we find a trailer, we'll have a contract ready that will clear everybody up as far as liability and whatnot.
That trailer pictured is 6 foot tall.
I literally just Googled 14 by 8 trailer and got the first image off Google, so that is the extent of what this, it has to be in Westmarch red. That's a requirement. Okay.
I mean, we could get our artisans to put our logo on the side.
Exactly.
And
We could have
QR
a
code
crafting
and all that good stuff.
Yep. We could have a contest that could do logos and decorate the trailer.
Have you seen Walrus's car?
Can we name it Trailer McTrailery Face?
Can we wrap it?
I mean, you want to write the all thing, we can do it.
I have no musical ability, so I am not rapping it.
Okay, this BOD meeting is officially going on too long.
Can we wrap the
All right,
dad
I'm
puns
motion
territory.
to table this for later.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's wrap it up.
Yeah, so basically the outcome of this is, gosh dang it, Cody. The outcome of this is Talon and I will finish writing the Alding request and we will figure out, Milan, we'll have to reach out to you for the exact numbers, but 3,500 to 5,000 is kind of the rough number we're looking at here, I think. So, okay. Now we have to do the most important thing, schedule the lunch. I mean, the next BOD meeting.
Definitely the 27th.
Of June?
Okay.
I understand the joke.
Thank you. I appreciate you, Dagger. At least a little bit.
Thursday. No.
Given that not everybody is here, I don't know, but I have an open schedule, so everybody who's here gets priority over scheduling since you showed up.
I said the 27th because Milan has put a note there that he's not available that day.
Perfect.
Perfect. Yeah, Milan is not available on the 27th, so we definitely need to schedule it sometime.
June 26th does look good to me.
Can we do 6:30 instead of 6?
Sure.
Is that okay? It's just because my kid has karate till 5:45.
6:30 on the 26th.
Milan, you are still kicking around, aka playing soccer. Does this time also work for you?
Oh, and then Ethan, back to the Alting proposal. If we get that out by this Saturday, it won't have to count as emergency Alting because that'll give us the 2 weeks notice to June 1st.
Cool. Yeah, I have the wording. You and I can just message on Discord or something like that and finalize it.
Cool.
That sounds good. Okay.
I
don't
motion to
hear
close this
anything
meeting.
else from Milan, so this sounds great. So Milan's not screaming. So June 26th, and then we get to adjourn and call this meeting. So if we want to stop sharing.
If I get a second on the closing, that's your second. Any opposed? All right.
Okay. I do want to keep